Okay, so this starts at 7:01. We're gonna go no longer. I want to kill it at 7:20, but I have it like hot at 7:20, but we might go to 7:22:25 or something like that. Um,
Welcome back, Ann Arbor. It's Tony and the Ann Arbor Hub crew.
Hey, Ann Arbor.
Hey. We're doing another podcast, and today we have with us Dorian Newberry.
Hey, how's it going?
That's amazing voice. You're going to get so many views. All right. So, Dorian, tell us a little bit about...
Actually, about views, Dorian did walk in here like he was going to be recorded. I almost said to him, I said, this is audio, right? But I didn't say it out loud.
I thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
He looked good. I'm not going to tell you what designer he have on his feet, but he looked nice.
We won't be biased. So Dorian, let's hit it.
Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
I wear size 15.
With that voice, they're going to be stalking you.
Oh, God.
No, I just want to piggyback off your shoe comment. So, my name is Dorian Newberry, and I am the Chief Collaboration Officer and Insurance Specialist with Allstate, the Affairs Aid office in Ann Arbor. And I specialize in home, auto, life, and luxury home insurance up to $4 million in coverage. So I'm fast, I'm trusted. I work with realtors, loan officers. And
so you told us your story about how you got into the industry. So I want you to share that because that was very interesting.
So insurance actually started with my great-grandfather who sold insurance in Detroit, Michigan. Tall, light-skinned man with green eyes. That's the story I always hear. And that was in like 1930. So I always heard that legacy, and I've always had that in the back of my mind. Insurance is something that I've always needed, so I became a little bit more interested. But my beginning of insurance starts with adjusting in Chicago at headquarters. I was a home adjuster, and I was the person who came out to estimate your loss and write a estimate and sometimes deny or approve coverages. So that's kind of how I got my start. So,
Dorian, I hear that you have a book.
Yeah, and actually, if you're listening to this and you're going to be ahead of the curve because you understand that the true protection, it definitely goes far beyond just meeting the minimum requirements, right? Especially if it's home insurance, it goes beyond meeting the state minimums and minimum requirements that they may have for your home. So,
Dorian, what's the name of your book?
So it's called Intro to Luxury Home Insurance.
Okay.
So I'll tag it. We'll put it in there.
Yeah.
So as a former, a claims adjuster, I then turned licensed insurance consultant. And so I've been on both sides of the table. So I've seen the heartbreak that comes from underinsurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I met families who thought they were protected, only to learn later or too late that their coverage was incomplete. And that was one of the main reasons I wrote the book. And it's hard not to take that home with you.
Yeah. When you're a good person, you care about people.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So what's the biggest mistake people make when buying home insurance or getting auto insurance?
So do you have auto or home insurance?
I have auto. I do. I'm not a homeowner.
Okay. Well, when you shop for insurance, what's the first thing you see? What's the first thing you think about?
What I think about is what I need.
Okay, I love that. You're so intelligent. What do you need? What do you need insurance for? And then do you think about the coverages? You think about the risk that if you don't get this insurance, what happens? What's my liability? Okay, perfect. So the biggest mistake people mostly make is going for cheap insurance. Making the number one mistake is shopping based on price instead of protection.
Actually, that's one of the things that I'm always thinking about, because when I call an insurance adjuster, or I don't know exactly what not adjuster, but the titles are.
Insurance agent.
Okay. They'll tell me, we can insure you for this much money. Just go ahead, pay us today and you're insured. And then I'm thinking, do you need photographs of my things, or how do I, what do you need from me? How do you know how much to insure me for? I haven't told you what I have in my house yet. They just want to give you the best rate. So if you're calling for people, then I say, a word I didn't know until a few years ago, several, more than a few, was rider. I didn't even know what a rider was until I asked someone once. One of my clients was buying a home and they got flood insurance. So I thought that flood insurance meant, oh, so your basement's protected. It's like, no, your house is on a floodplain. Different thing.
Yes, water backup and flood insurance or flood coverage is totally.
And then I realized that for your basement insurance, there is one thing for water backup. There is another thing for water damage. If something above the basement flooded into it, or, sewer backup or water damage. And then there was something else for emergency flood occurrences.
Right. And that's why you want to take.
You might not have all three of them.
And that's why you want to take time too. And when you shop, are you prepared to sit down and have a conversation with your insurance, or are you kind of in a rush and you're just like, I need this, I need that? Because it depends on how you shop as well, right?
So what if I have things that are not average in my home? Right. I have different features.
You're 100% right.
So is that another rider, or now do I need to send them pictures, photographs? Because I want, if something happens to my house and I'm paying insurance, I want the full value of what my house is. But how do they know the full value if they've never seen my house?
Absolutely. So I think all of the above is going to apply. Talking about what you have in your home, discussing the coverages you need. If it's a custom home and this and that, we'll certainly get into that. A good salesperson is going to try to get to know you and try to get to know your family so that we can understand what coverages you need. And then from there, we'll get to understand what you have in your home. You may be a collector. You have podcast equipment. You have camera equipment. So we want to make sure we account for that. Some of the biggest things we look for, of course, in home insurance is going to be replacement costs.
Dorian, I went into a house once.
Oh my goodness, what happened?
They had a Bentley room. The Bentley, the car, the Bentley.
I feel broke.
They had grills of the Bentley, and the famous woman that is on the head of. I'm sorry, they can't see on the hood. The hood ornament. Mm-hmm. There was at least like 5 to 12 hood ornaments of different sizes. There was prototypes of different patents.
Ooh.
For the Bentley.
Man, actually, what were you doing there?
I'm a real estate agent.
Oh, you're real estate. That's right.
Yeah.
So they were selling their home.
They were selling their home. But of course, in order to tour this particular home, you can't just call up and say, I'd like to tour this home. You have to have you have to have insurance to enter the home, right? So I mean, not insurance, but sometimes you have to sign an NDA. We did not have to in this property. There are other ones that I cannot talk about, but you did have to, you would have to have your pre-approval letter or proof of funds, and you would be signed on with a trusted real estate agent. You can't just walk into a house like that. But if
you're right. So look,
things, what could you do for me?
Well, luxury homes have layered risk. Custom construction, high-end appliances, imported finishes, right? Smart home technology, like you were alluding to, art collections. You can't just plug that into a basic calculator and come up with that, right? And expect accurate protection. So that's why it's not just about a number. It's definitely about a scope. And I use replacement cost estimators that will factor in things like copper roofing, things you find in luxury homes, like heated floors, built-in espresso machines, home theaters. So there are specialty endorsements and things like that and valuables for equipment breakdown, water damage. And then, of course, there's always an umbrella that we can add to your...
An umbrella?
An umbrella is going to give you additional liability to the coverages you already have.
Like a rider?
No, not necessarily. A rider is going to be synonymous with a scheduled property. So rider is just like an additional layer of coverage. An umbrella is going to be an additional policy that's going to give additional liability to what you already have.
So if I have geothermal flooring and they might have a higher rate of failure, do you know what I'm talking about? The geothermal flooring, heated floors.
So that's not really a reason to make a claim, right? That's a failure. That's not a named peril. That that's more of like a manufacturer wear and tear issue.
Hold on, let me say that differently. So if I installed heated flooring in my basement and there was water circulating through the heated flooring, it was hit, the rate built. I don't know how they do these things. I'm sorry, so I'm not trying to make it.
Sure.
But so I have heated flooring, and there's water circulating through my heated flooring, and then that fails and the water floods in the basement. Is there an insurance that I would have for that, or would I have to? Is there anything? Can I insure that? Because I love that feature, but I sometimes want to advise people against it because I've seen it fail a couple of times and it was horrible. But I don't know if it's just that they didn't have insurance. Or can you have insurance?
Yeah, if something like that fails, it depends on two things. If they had the coverage and what insurance company they had.
Okay.
Right? There are reviews with 1 and 2 stars, again, when you're going for price and cheap. And then you have, different scenarios where an Allstate company like, would support water backup claim like that. If we need to dry the floors, we'd come out and have the floors dried. If we need to pull up carpet, carpet would be pulled up. So whatever need to happen would happen. But the first thing would be to assess the loss, stop the loss from continuing, and then start, the process to get you back to a pre-loss condition.
Pre-loss condition. Oh, I like that a lot. That's great. Okay. So there's replacement costs, there's pre-loss condition. Are there any other vocabulary words that I need to look up in order to continue in this conversation?
There's a ton. And insurance is a language by itself.
Like real estate.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about what someone on the high end might need. There's a lot more regular folk. So if I have a bungalow in a town and it's a just in a hilly area, I'm just curious. I'm trying to figure out the range of insurance cost.
So insurance is always going to be based on who you are and the person. It's going to be based on amount of claims you've had.
Even home claims.
The amount. Yeah. All
I was told once that the claim stayed with the address and not with the person.
Who told you that?
Someone who didn't know a thing.
Yeah,
I've never repeated it. You see, that was a question. I said I was told once. I took myself away from that one. No, because you hear all sorts of things, which is why we're doing this podcast today, because we do hear all sorts of rumors. And, I just realized that if you said old wives' tales, that's actually like a derogatory statement, isn't it? Old wives' tales. Because sometimes you hear old wives' tales about why something is such and such and so in an insurance situation. But that is actually not a nice thing to say, is it?
As women, I guess that wouldn't be very.
Maya, speak up. I see you over there
correct.
shaking your head. Say what you got to say. You were like,
just the term old wives' tale. I mean,
I've always looked at it as a term of endearment because
old wives are wives.
The old women in my life are some of the smartest people I know. So.
Yeah, but we attribute it to things that may or may not be true.
Right. So that's
depending on who you are. I know people who live by that stuff. But back to insurance, Dorian, let me ask you a question. So, how we work in the real estate industry, how can you as an insurance agent help the closing process or the process of buying a home?
That's a really great question. So real estate professionals, they're judged by how smoothly their transaction is, right? And how smoothly you can close and how fast you can close. So when you refer an insurance partner, and with a great reputation, it feels like gold, and it makes you feel and look good because you can give them a full service supply chain and offer someone that is going to be reliable. That's first and foremost. And then, of course, I can do the same day binding. So if you need something that's immediately, due, we can help you out with that as well. Of course, the biggest thing is that I care. I'm going to give great coverage. Like I said, we're going to aim for a replacement.
So I have a question. Some of our new buyers, they don't always, the mortgage company makes them get insurance. And I've been asked before, why do I need to get insurance? And even before that, when they're in college, I always encourage them to get renter's insurance, especially because people live above them and they're not always somebody could leave the bathtub running, and the owners have their own insurance policy, but renter's insurance. And first, what's the benefit of
What's the benefit of having insurance?
Well, I'm trying to help, encourage our.
No, I love this. I'm actually really engaged in this conversation. No, this is awesome.
I see college students.
Let's start with that. Why do you need insurance?
Because if you're a college student and you have a computer that you scrimped and saved and threw a big party to buy, and then it gets destroyed because the person above you left their bathtub water on it and went to sleep.
Yeah, that's something to have insurance for, but you have bigger problems that you want to be covered for.
Tell me more.
The biggest issues in home and renters insurance you want to be covered for is liability. I come over your house, I trip and fall on your rug, and I hit my head on your kitchen counter. I trip and fall, break my ankle on your steps delivering a pizza. I'm suing you for, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, which may change the future projection of your financial future.
You took that to a completely different place. I bet everybody got real serious. We should have opened with that. Why do you get insurance? No, seriously.
Immediately, everybody's clicking the link in the description to hit up Dorian.
Right. And
I'm serious. Like, this is what I see as an adjuster. Yeah.
Like and subscribe. This is our like and subscribe.
100%. And I love talking about this. So we can continue. Hopefully there's a show too.
Yeah.
To go on from that, what's the difference between an insurance quote and insurance policy? Because I've been quoted one thing, and then when I get my first bill, they got something else added on there.
Yeah.
It's just an estimate, not a promise. So that's going to be the biggest thing, is that the estimate is just based on assumptions. And sometimes it has to still go through underwriting before it becomes a policy. So a policy is actually a legal binding document. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the biggest difference. And it'll spell out exactly what's in that policy, and the responsibilities and, what they are. The risk has not been assessed yet. Mm-hmm. When you have a quote. Mm-hmm. You're really getting a quote kind of.
It's like a zestimate.
Yeah, it's an estimate. It's estimating that you are the best driver in the world, that you have no tickets, no accidents, no claims. You pay all your bills on time for the last 20 years. That's kind of what your estimate is going to be. And then you have your quote, which is, again, all right, well, you actually got a little bit more square footage in here. You actually have high ceilings or, something else.
I didn't know you had that amazing skylight.
Right. These are things that we all want to be accountable for. And here's the issue with, and I just want to bring this up. The issue with not telling us what you have sometimes is that, yes, you'll get the lower price because you don't tell us, like, hey, I got this whole, $20,000 camera set up to protect my beautiful home and this and that. And then something happens, and then you want that to be covered. And it's like, well, you didn't include that. I didn't know you had, this and that. And I would have. So be honest with what you have in your home. I don't know how much time we have, so I'll just throw another recommendation in there. And that's going to be to take pictures of your house. I do this with my clients once a year. So we always do an policy audit, and I do that for free as well.
So when I want to ask you, when you're taking pictures of things around your house, is there anything in the house that specifically you want to take a picture of it a certain way? Like I've heard with your television, you want to take a picture of the serial number, not just the front of your TV.
I don't know if you need to go that serious with the serial number.
Here he goes again. Who have you been talking to? Which is exactly why we've invited you onto the show. We should call this, who have you been talking to?
Yeah.
You can call it ChatGPT told me.
All right, you all. With that, we're done here.
We got one more question.
No, you do not. We're done here. You have to come back for a second episode. In order to ask a second question, please text it to Dorian, and we'll continue on later. Record and done.
Bye. Bye. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, I know. I think I might have left the intro, but what do you normally say when you say in your intro? Do you say like a hi greeting, or is it just more like who you are? Hi, everybody. This is Dorian Newberry, Chief Collaboration Officer and Insurance Specialist with Allstate Agency here in Ann Arbor at the Fair Zaid Premier Agency. I'm a home, auto, life, and business coverage specialist. I'm fast, I'm trusted, and I can be reached at 734-780-2815.